This thing has no idea of timing, you know. It's not going to start at 1:30. It's not like a performing animal. Right, 1:30, juggle, do some fucking thing. But I thought today, try to get into, so that you can have a feeling of it, yeah? Once you have a feeling of it, you'll recognize it a lot easier. Once you have a feeling of it, like the mind we were talking about yesterday, I'm talking about big M mind. Well, I like to call it raw mind, really. Raw mind. That mind doesn't need a whole menu to understand what's offered. It needs a tiny sample. If you get a flavor of what verbing is, it will expand on it. Yeah? If one possibility comes in, it sets off an avalanche in mind. Yeah, like that's why the beautiful cryptic statements of what we call spiritual texts and stuff are usually the less than a sentence. You know, like the seeker is the sought. You know, it's like, so you hear it. It's the seeker is the sought, and the mental state wants to put a period there to say it knows it. All right, so it puts a period at the end of the sentence. I know that, but if you bypass the period, your head will add on to it. The mind will add so much onto that statement, yeah? Or like, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. Yeah, so simple. It's like less than 7 words, right, in a sense. You can't, or more around there. You can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. And then he doubles up on it, or triples up on it, and says you can't use the mind, the big M mind, to seek the mind. You can't use light to seek light. And then he says, if you do, nothing's going to happen for eons. You're not going to find mind with mind or as mind, basically, because you are what you're looking for. Yeah. So to be looking for light, there must be a denial of light. Yeah. The looking for light can only make sense if it's preceded by a denial of light. Yeah. So the looking for the Buddha can only make sense if it's based on a denial of the Buddha. Now, we don't see the denial of the Buddha because we call it me. But this me, in a sense, is the denial of the Buddha. So we are the Buddha. The Buddha, yeah. It's never going to work if the Buddha seeks the Buddha. See, so if I find myself seemingly seeking the Buddha, maybe it's a good idea to question who's looking for the Buddha. If it's the Buddha, the search party's over. You know what I mean? It's going to immediately come to a halt. Because why would the Buddha ever look for the Buddha? It would look for other things that it can find, but it's not going to look for what it can't find because it's what's looking. Yeah. So the Buddha is what's looking for the Buddha. It sounds totally insane. But if there's the identification as something else, it can be a 50-year-long fucking noble journey. Yeah. If the Buddha is replaced by you, it sounds like a fucking noble endeavor. My whole life I'm dedicating to seeking the Buddha. And there would be other people who would have a lot of respect for you. Your family may not, but other people would be going, what a fucking heroic person Paul is. He spent his whole life seeking the Buddha. But in fact, it was all glorifying the Paul. The Paul was being glorified every step of the way of seeking the Buddha, because obviously the mental state knows it's not going to find the Buddha because it knows there's a Buddha already. That's what it's trying to obscure and hide and disguise. So, and one of the best ways this little mental state, this little parasitical movement has found to hide it the best is to be looking for it. The best way to hide the Buddha to the Buddha would be looking for the Buddha. It's like, it's perfect because, you know, there's like a great, I wish I left all I like this one book by The Talks with Raman Maharshi, but I left it back home. But he has a great story there where he's talking about the lady with the necklace. I think I used it last time, I don't know. It's a really nice story, so I like to share it. So there's a lady with the necklace, and then she loses the necklace. She thinks she loses the necklace. So now she's pursuing the lost necklace. And so she's asking all her friends, can you help me find the lost necklace? So a lot of them go, yes, we'll join in on the party, and we'll spend a couple hours every day looking for that freaking necklace you lost. And then she keeps asking more people, and they can't seem to find it. And then one person says, hey, just touch around your neck. And so she finally touches her neck, and she feels the necklace. And her translation of it is, I found the lost necklace. But did she really find the lost necklace? It had been there the whole time. Yeah, she didn't lose the necklace. It was an assumption. There was a presupposing that something happened that hadn't happened. And that presupposing set off all these trains of circumstances, looking for it, bemoaning the day I lost it, going over, what did I do to lose my necklace, calling up all the stores she was at that day, and on, and reading books or going through the papers. Did anyone find a lost necklace? You know what I mean? Please send me an email if you found it. All this stuff, all based on assumption the necklace was lost, but it hadn't gone anywhere. So, and the funny thing is, there was great joy when she finds the necklace. And it replaced the incredible being bummed out when she was in the state of losing the necklace, but she never lost the necklace or found the necklace. So what was going on was a playing God by the mental state, yes? The playing God by the mental, and then the funny thing is, one of the first times I did this talk, in where I live, a guy there played it out like a fucking tutorial video. He had come to the meeting, and then he had his friends drive him back we went to coffee, and then after coffee he had his friends drive him back to the meeting place, and his truck was missing. And so immediately he assumes the truck has been stolen. And the friends that are with him going, give me a break, who'd like that fucking beat up truck? But he say, no, they stole my truck. So he starts looking around the neighborhood to fucking find his truck. So they call me and they say he's in a frantic condition. He's lost his truck. He wants to talk to his friend John. So I give him to John, and John says, no, you didn't lose your truck. You parked right around the cafe, but you saw me and you walked with me and you forgot where the truck was. So suddenly he comes back with that knowledge and he's laughing at himself, but he was totally frantic, as real can be, because he assumed something was gone that wasn't gone. So this could go on for 70 years. Yeah, and it is. This was one episode, beautiful condensed video of him flipping out, then finding out it was never lost, then laughing and actually having a huge breakdown, and just went into a laughing fit because it matched the exact story we shared an hour ago. It was like a perfect demonstration of it. And all the people that are around it saw it beautifully. It was like, you couldn't have had a better teaching aid than that. Yeah. But this goes on for 80 years. It could go on for freaking lifetimes, in a sense. There's an assumption, in this case with the necklace, she assumed she lost it. And because of that, she was bummed out, got depressed. All this stuff grew on that assumption. And then when it was corrected, she didn't see the real correction, because now she thinks she found it. The possibility of losing it is still available to her, because she doesn't get it was always there. So someone who seems to wake up, they wake up and they think it was something that happened, let's say, to them. But then if that's the case, it wasn't there before, so it may not be there later. So a lot of them get to a point where they lose their awakening. Just like the lady thought she lost the necklace. We can't say losed. Lost the necklace, right? So they believe they've lost the awakening they had. But in fact, the awakening hasn't gone anywhere. And so now they may try, maybe they'll call all the friends and tell them, I lost it. I felt so fucking great for 6 months and now it's gone. And help me find The necklace, help me find the awakeness. Okay, go see this person. Go do that. Join this monastery. If you work hard enough, you'll find what you've lost because you once had it. But in fact, did you have it? And can you lose it? How can what's always realized be realized? How can what's always realized be realized? Yeah. How can that which is always realized leave the always realized to become realized? Yeah. It would have to deny the always realized to make it an event. But that event also comes with the other side of the coin, can be lost. And especially if you're written into the reason why this happened to me was me, then the reason why I lose it is me. Yeah? So the lady loses it, but the funny thing is she was totally bummed out when she believed she lost the necklace. All the while the necklace is available. And she's totally in joy when she thinks she found the necklace. See, that's what it's like. If the necklace is always there, do you have the necklace? You don't really have it, do you? It's never not been had. It's always been there. And in a sense, in the mental escapades of Experienceville, that's not that attractive. I'd rather find that and have the great joy of finding it, and I'm even willing to feel like I've lost it for a while because I figure the hit when I find it will be better. It's just sort of like I was willing to listen to a drug dealer's whole life story to get that fucking cocaine I wanted to buy. And they would extract your attention. They'd fake like they were bringing it out, but no. And you'd be there like a dog waiting for a bone because you wanted that hit. What the hell is there any real difference? There's no allure really to what's always available. There's really no shine to it. We walk over it every day. But if it became infrequent and it could be had, it would be the most valuable of things. If it was infrequent and could be had, especially if it could only be had by a few, it would become unbelievably valuable, and people would pay almost anything if they thought wrongly that you could lead them there. This is the message. You are what you're looking for, like it or not. And the mental state is not going to like it. It much rather improve something to a point of seeming almost perfection than to have a total sense of perfection constantly. Truly it is. The ordinariness isn't attractive to the mental state. It will smell it and it will see what it can make out of it. And if it finds it can't really make much out of it, it's going to move on to bigger and better things. So now it'll move on to turbocharged Buddhism or extreme fucking non-duality. Watch, what's going to happen? There's going to be workout videos based on non-duality. All right, get ready for non-duality. Really, extreme non-duality. We're going to have a radical non-duality retreat. What the fuck? The mental state's going to try to make something out of it. The immunity to that is to just start entertaining. Maybe just imagine the possibility that you may not be the center of the system you seem to be living in. Yeah? If you're not the self, and the system seems to be centered on self, could it be centered on something else? If the system is looking for something to be centered on, let's say, could it be centered on something else? Maybe just centeredness, yeah? Which would be incredible because wherever you are and everywhere, you would be at the center of everywhere, yeah? And then instead of living a tunnel vision way of life, you would live a very, very open aperture type way of life, yeah? You would be more spacious than ever. and things that happened wouldn't leave much of a trace in the sky of your mind. Yeah, you would be in the happening of everything, but there wouldn't be a giant history log of what happened. They would be erased so quickly because the footprint wouldn't be that deep. Yeah, and so you would see all the made-up partitions and pages and this quota and that would start blurring, and you would see this whole place as a fucking living mural. Yeah, just on the screen of consciousness, everything just rushing over it like a very shallow stream. And you get a sense. Yeah, you'd have a sense, not thought about, but a sense of freedom, a sense of peace, a sense of presence. Yeah. It wouldn't come about by thought or effort. It would be teased out of what's already there by lack of thought or effort. It would not be brought into situations by interest. It would come into situations by lack of interest. It would be like that butterfly. It will land on you if you show no interest. But if you show interest on getting it, you'll never catch it. Yeah. Interest doesn't work when it comes to this topic. It really doesn't. Because why would you be interested in being what you already are being? I'm much more interested in getting a fucking ice cream sundae than I am in finding what I am. Literally. So now the interest and attention isn't directed by the mental state and going on chores into what's not happening all day to try to get a fucking pale reflection of you so that you won't forget what you think you are. Now that interest attention will be undirected. It's just be hovering around. It's got plenty to deal. It has so much attention. It can attend to the day as if it's not even happening. Yeah, and now it'll just be there. And to me, that's the sense of presence. Really, it's undirected attention and interest. It just hovers around you, just like the mental state with the interest attention as like a ring of Saturn keeps it around us. Yeah, I watch it in recovery meetings, man. People in alcoholism is an extreme sense of self-centeredness. There's a thick fucking horizontal download going on all the time, and we need to do things in recovery to come out of that, to break out of that gravitational pull. So service is incredibly emphasized so that you'll do something for another person or listen to another person, so your attention and interest will be pulled out of that fucking preoccupation of the Death Star, so to speak, all fucking day. And then it goes out. Well, what happens when you remove the center of that horizontal movement, it goes out. The asteroid belts go, they're not like tightly held in this, and you feel available. Yeah, you walk up feeling huge in a sense, and you never get gypped. You're never outside in the back when the delivery comes to the front door. You're there because you can't be anywhere else. It becomes like the new normal, yeah? And then you see fucking how abnormal the other way was. Unbelievable. It's unbelievably to live in that gravitational pull all day. Everything that's happening, getting pulled in, it's happening to me. It's a huge fucking heroic, like, it's unbelievable. It's like a huge fucking universal inhale, like, oh, and then then it regurgitates. It says, "Oh, they hate you. You're never gonna get what you want." It's like fucking unbelievable. It's exhausting. You know what I mean? You got to jump off a bridge to feel free from it, or shoot coke in your neck, or fucking whatever. I don't know. Have someone submerge you in water till you're almost dead, and then or get scolded by miso soup to forget it, or something. You got to have shocks. Ayahuasca plus whatever the other ones are, fucking the shaman blowing smoke on your face, just somehow to convince yourself, I could be out of this. But I want to be out of this as this. Then the one ceremony a week is now, once a year is now 52 times a year. I wish I would have had the term ceremony when I was shooting coke. Oh, I'm at a ceremony. I'm at a ceremony. I'll be back in a week. It makes it sound so much better. Then I'm shooting coke. So, yes. I don't mean any of this really. I'm just joking. I just think it's funny, the whole thing. Yeah. Where was I? I have no idea. Oh yes, that pull. So what would happen? See, if you want, it's like if moths are bothering you, yes? Let's say you're sitting here and moths just keep bothering you and you try to swat them as fast as you can, but they're just constantly going. What's there to do? Just remove the light. The moths will disperse. They have their interest is, there's something that's compelling all this to sort of like this, and I think it's the gravitational pull of selfing. Yeah, it's this cherishing of self. It's this preoccupation and adoration of thoughts that are about me I'll listen to for 40 years. If they're about you, I could care less. Really. So it's not the thoughts I worship. It's the sense of what they imply, that there's a me, that there's a me, that there's a me. And I'm telling you, it makes the traveling heavy a norm. Yeah. I find it as slavery, really. I can't believe what are term solutions here. I don't think they're worth their fucking second as a solution. Anything that you have to constantly re-up, that gets tarnished, that erodes, that gets erased by the merest condition, what value does that have? For me, I need something that's always available at all times, right where I am. I need a solution that matches my constancy, not the head's constancy, but what I am. And all that is what we are. Yet you cannot find it from what you're not. So Ramana, we said this, and this is, I'm paraphrasing it, because some people get in touch with me and say, that's not exactly how it was said. Well, I get it. It works for me. So it says, to me, it's the conception of what selfing supports. Yeah, the selfing supports this conception. So let's say, what was prior to that conception? Nothing and everything. Yeah. So the conception, the conceiving is a presupposing, just like my friend supposed that the truck was missing. Yeah. But this case it's trickier because it's a presupposing. So when this supposing arises, it presupposes it was there when you're supposing you lost your truck. Yeah? So all the other assumptions that you can get through will be actually ways of being hidden from this assumption. Because this assumption says it's before everything else. Yeah? So a pre-assumption or presupposing that we are a non-existent thing, that I am a non-existent thing. So what is the non-existent thing? The body, yeah? Have you seen someone that you knew and then you've seen them when they're dead? I have, and I had a very, very strong hit when I was 9 years old, when my mother took me to the casket of my Uncle Fred, who I'd been thinking it was Uncle Fred the whole time. And when I saw the body that I once called Uncle Fred dead, I knew it wasn't Fred. Yeah, what was enlivening the body was Uncle Fred. But it was easy to make that mistake because I thought what was enlivening the body was Paul, that Paul was the body. Paul was the existing thing. But it's a presupposing of a non-existent thing that in a sense takes itself to be existing and then wants to get salvation for the non-existent thing. But it doesn't see it that way. It thinks it's getting salvation for the existent thing. That's where the logic makes total sense. Of course, I want to get a good sandwich for the non-existent thing. I want to get money for the non-existent thing. I want to get salvation for the non-existent thing. Yeah, but it's but as an existent thing. That's the only way it would make any sense. Why would I want to get salvation for a non-existent thing? It's non-existent. Or why would I go on a heroic search to try to vanquish or kill the non-existent thing? It doesn't exist. It's a phantom. So how can you destroy a phantom? The only thing is to question what's projecting the phantom. If you turn off the light, the phantom doesn't get projected. So a presupposing of a non-existent thing, in a sense we now feel we're existing, yeah, and then wanting to get salvation for the non-existent thing. That's what all selfing supports. It supports the non-existent thing as an existent thing. Yeah? That's the whole thing selfing's doing. And then it says, all right, if that's the case, if your practices themselves, yeah, are reinforcing the non-existent thing, how could they destroy the non-existent thing? Though that's supposedly the intention of the practices, is to get out of the non-existent thing or to destroy the obscuration or whatever it may be. But he's saying if those practices themselves are reinforcing the non-existent thing, how can they destroy the non-existent thing? So you get caught in a little double bind or a catch-22, yeah? Yeah, I'd like to get salvation, but if you try to get salvation for the non-existent thing, as the non-existent thing, it only reinforces the lie that you're the non-existent thing. What's one to do? That's the day your spiritual pants fall down, usually. Yeah. It may happen all at once, it may be at a meeting, you may even be doing a practice. And then you realize this hits you and you go, what's the point of all this? And everyone in that practice hall doesn't have a good fucking answer. Really. So you just walk, you don't pull your pants back and sit down again with them, you walk out with your pants down. Never to be seen again. And then what happens? Just find out. Yeah. Find out. Of course the head is going to constantly, when the head is talking to you, there's a presupposing that it's you. When you're listening to it, not hearing it, because everyone hears it, because we're conscious, but when you're listening to it, the listening to it, it's sort of like this. This is how you see it, man. It's like, say that there's no-thingness, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. And then the mental state throws some bait in there. And so the bait has a hook. So consciousness arises and grabs the bait, yeah? Entertains the idea. And as soon as it grabs the bait, it assumes or pictures itself as a fish. As soon as the bait is like, oh, let me listen to that, there's a fish. And when the fish seems to appear, it has a whole historical story that you've been a fish for quite a long time and that you're gonna be a fish a long time after this. It doesn't happen over years, it happens now. The mental state produces historical effects out of now. You'll have a whole story, everything comes up. It's like all the files, it's sort of like on a computer, if you hit the key pause, the files don't come, it's just all the files come up. And you get this huge hit, pause. And then the rest of the day, all of it's to reinforce that hit. So how does it do it? How does it reinforce that which isn't so? It couples itself with everything that's happening. So actions are interpreted to imply the actor. Thoughts are interpreted to imply the thinker. Feelings are interpreted to imply the feeler. It even goes, what's the most fucking constant thing that I could get a fucking reflection from? It's going to presuppose you before consciousness, and now you're going to say you're seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and touching. Yeah? So now everything that's happening here is sort of like if it was a donkey herd. Everything that's without tails, everything that's happened here is now put on a tail, and the tail points to the phantom. Yeah? So now every action, there's a feeling that I'm the actor. Now it feels real. Why would you want to try to fight that feeling real? It's just seeing there's no one that's feeling real. You see? Why would you want to go through every feeling and try to say some kind of thing? I'm not feeling it. Just see if you're the feeler. Because that's what's being implied. It's not the thousands of thoughts that you have to go through. You don't have to erase or delete every file. All you have to see is there's not even a file to delete. It's implied by how you're hearing and feeling and tasting and touching and thinking and all this. All that's implying that there's a file. There isn't a file. There's just selfing. There's just thoughts that are being used to imply the thinker. That's selfing. There's feelings that are being interpreted to imply the feeler. That's selfing. Yeah? It's all verbing. And yet all the verbing is there to imply that there's a noun, so suddenly the non-existent thing is given fucking life as the existent thing, and then it hits the trials and tribulations of being an existent thing in a very precarious situation where a lot of its needs have to be met by other people and outside, and suddenly the driving of engine of seeking and fucking seeking and seeking gets generated, and the whole process feeds itself. Yeah? And the problem is you can't get out of it because you're truly not in it. You see? As the system trying to get out of the system is one of the biggest aspects of the system. So, because you'll be thinking all the while, oh, I'm getting out of it. You're not going fucking anywhere. So if you see it, if you can see it as an activity, I'm telling you, you can start entertaining. It can stop. And I don't mean the activity stop, the implying stop. Yeah? You will see thoughts, but you won't hold them as the thinker. You will see feelings, but you won't hold them as the feeler. You will not do all the heavy fucking lifting for the mental process. You will not pick up that fucking ball and start a huge football tournament. It will be put right in front of you, and you just won't, no, because as soon as you pick it up, the whole game, the cheering in the arena, the lights come on, and there you go. The spiritual arena, yes. Who's ahead? What master's getting everyone there quicker? No fucking one. If you see it, you won't be looking from it. And if you're looking from it, you'll never see it. If you see it, you won't be looking from it. If you're looking from it, you'll never see it. Never. It is the fastest process of any process here. The only thing that can be before it is what we are. Any other machination of the selfing is never going to get before all the other selfings. It's a process. It takes time. So there's this huge gap of eternity before it. Yeah? I would say we are on the winning side, so to speak. And if you see it from there, it has a totally different ability to infect and affect than when you're looking from it. When you're looking from it, you're in dire need of a lot of fucking things. And you'll know the tree by its fruits. You'll know what tree you seem to be clinging to by the fruits that are happening in one's life. I don't mean the events, I mean how you're traveling through them all. Yeah? If you're traveling lighter over a long period of time through whatever the geography of your action figure is going to be, you're onto something. Just to let the mind, let it roam fucking for once. Why put this in a book? Why would you want this fucking roaring, credible stallion to run around? It's like putting a marathon runner in a closet. Yeah? It needs a one sentence to go off. It doesn't need 800 pages. You don't need to know. Knowing can be helpful, but it can't replace being. Understanding can be helpful, but it cannot produce vision. Yeah? You have to see that as an inherent state, or it doesn't have any real value, because somehow your head will write your importance into the whole fucking story once again. Even to the story of the absence of you, you'll be the big fucking star. You see it and then let it go. The mind will just do what it's going to do. Big M mind. Grace is available, downloads will occur, and you'll be changed sort of on the fly. You won't have to go into a fucking garage for 3 years unless you're really physically or mentally or emotionally screwed up. This whole activity, this whole operation, you're moving and everything. Life's going to pare you down and it's going to make you useful. Yeah. You'll be you'll be of service because you're available and you're present. And I'm saying your availability is not predicated on any action or thought, it's an inherent possibility. Why not rest there? And one of the best days in this little action figure life was when the mental accountant got fired. Going over how much value am I accruing? Did I do enough surfing? Fuck it. He got fired. His name got erased off the door. I use it for a fucking closet now. Spacious. There's nothing in there. I mean, why would you let? To me, it's fucking slavery based on ignoring other possibilities. That we allow that which we're not to dictate and describe what's going on here. Like we read about in the course yesterday. The vision of what we are is wholly independent from the eyes that see the world. Wholly independent. Yeah. When I had this, it was like a huge freaking relief. This thing, this non-existent thing, does not do well as the center of the universe. It does not do well with so much attention put on it. It's not meant to be gone over and over and over. I would say all the disease and all that shit are all based on the mental state in some level. We're in such a level of stress trying to deal with what's not happening. How can you deal with what's not happening? You just have to see it's not happening. How can you deal with what's not happening? What skillful means would be better than realizing it's not happening? Can you imagine that? If you just saw that it's not happening, you would never buy a book that had any idea thrust upon you of how to get into a moment. You would realize you've never been out of a moment. Yeah? You would realize all those things that they promise in a lot of the books, you are already actually available to. right now. You just don't think so. If you lose interest in the thought, that which you would hope to find at the end of that book, you'll be seeing that that's what's reading the fucking book. Then when you read a book, it's a different experience. Fucking, you know what? You know how much you see when you're not looking for something in it? You don't know how much you see when you're not looking for something in things. It's amazing. It's amazing when that fixation of constantly contracting, try to see what you want, gets opened. And it's just a spaciousness. And then you can sense presence and space and everything. Yeah. It's nothing, it's like living with an aperture this tight with the hopes I can find somehow way to loosen it. And then realizing you have nothing fucking to do with that. And then resting in this side, the infinite side, where the aperture is wide open and never fucking sees the thing. Never blinks, never takes a picture, nothing. It's just wide open, and all there is seeing. You know, seeing with no edges, no ends, doesn't go anywhere, you never alight upon anything, there's just seeing, you know? There's like a big chunk of universe right here, like Douglas Harding used to talk about on having no head, that you're the space that is allowing all this, that you'll have a sense of that, yeah? That all this traffic, everything that's being seen here, felt, just goes into fucking, like that. Instead of seeing the car moving, everything's moving through you, yeah? While you're in the car driving, everything's moving through you, the whole place, whoosh, and then just disappearing. It's like everything on the screen, yeah? If you saw this, if the screen suddenly got absorbed, you know, the movie on the screen got absorbed in the screen, it's like that. You know what I mean? You're watching a Clint Eastwood movie, and then suddenly it just got sucked into the screen. What? I paid $10 for that. You know, everything, just what? You know, that's what it's like, you know. You're like the screen, and just like a very low-level stream of stuff going over you, and it's just getting sucked into this fucking universal vacuum. And after a while, you see everything's happening, but nothing ever happened. You're the only happening. Yeah. Nothing else is. For something to seem to be happening, it has to be happening to you. You're the only happening there is. Yeah. And it's so incredibly incessant, we don't even pick it up. Yeah. It's like really the fish thinking it's dry in the ocean. And it would be, well, we're much worse than that, because we'll go to how to get wet classes. Yeah? We will. And we will extend this story of being dry to our last fucking breath. But see, if you're so, it's like if the wave is so obsessed to be the wave, the most it can do is have an experience of the ocean. It can never, ever get the joy of being the ocean, which has always been the case. If the drive is to be a wave, you will study the ocean. You'll try to know the ocean. You'll try to have an experience with the ocean. You'll go on ocean retreats. You'll do all this stuff. But there's a firewall. The being of the ocean doesn't seem available because you want it to be available to the wave. If you see you're not the wave, that's the ocean, yes. Was it not the ocean at any point while the wave was appearing? It's always been the ocean. The appearance of the wave does not produce a separation of the ocean. Not from the ocean's point of view, anyway. Maybe from the wave's point of view, it seems to. Yeah? See if you're not the wave, and you'll be the ocean. See if you're not the person, and a lot of possibilities will arise. Unbidden. You won't be looking for them, yeah? For me, it changed a lot. It changed, my view became inclusive, yeah? Everything started becoming like win-wins. Things just started to work out in a whole new manner. With not orchestrating a thing. I was more like being in the audience, yeah? It was like heavy metal turning into classical. It was very, it's really nice. You know. Drama, clashing, no, it was just really sort of things started to go swimmingly. Yeah. And even if they didn't, you could swim through them. If you see the problem from the solution, you'll realize it's not a problem. It's an activity. Yeah. It's actually an activity the solution is entertaining. And maybe you're at the point where it's getting tired of it and it will be weaned off of it. Really, you'll lose interest in it. That's how it really works. You lose interest in the need to be liberated. You lose interest in trying to learn any fucking more. You lose interest in bettering yourself, and then you get a whole lot better. So, any questions today? No? Now we'll take an earlier break because I want a coffee actually. You see it, eh? Yeah? It's already in there. It's just stick around, listen to the talks. The videos help. Repetition helps. Yeah? Maybe after months you'll start seeing you're traveling lighter. What more do you want, really? We have faith in it. I've seen a lot of it, a lot of people in front of me in these situations. You know, it's amazing. It's like the biggest hook we're all on is our own, really. Yeah, like on a big fucking meat hook. And when you finally get permission to be okay, just as you seem to be, yeah? When acceptance can be given or be a space that you're in, a lot of ease and comfort will come over you. Yeah. Maybe that whole thing will just disperse a little and you'll be available and present for others. Yeah. So yeah, let's do that, eh? You mind? We can come back at 3:30? Is that all right? Is this everyone, too early for everyone? No? Yeah. This one I didn't.